saw the Auckland Zoo out the window, and knew I was almost home. After over 5 hours on this bus, I was just a short drive from Oakland and eager to see my wife Suzy after 6 months apart. I'm Joe Thomas, a 27-year-old former Air Force senior airman. Until a few hours ago, I was on active duty, completing a 4-year tour as a fighter avionics technician. I just finished my third and final 6-month deployment at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. I landed at Edwards Air Force Base in California and decided to take a bus through the countryside to relax and think about my future. With my active duty over, I need to figure out my next career move. My father, Bill Thomas, worked as an electrician for most of his life, running the family business in Oakland. After high school, my twin brother John and I interned with him. Once I qualified as an electrician, I joined the Air Force while John stayed to help our parents. Now, I'm not keen on returning to the family business. I want to try something new, despite having an open offer to work there and the chance to see my family regularly. The idea of crawling through ceilings and dealing with clueless homeowners isn't appealing. My wife Suzy and I started dating during my internship and married a year after I joined the Air Force. Our marriage hasn't gone as I hoped, gradually deteriorating. We began to drift apart during the 6 months before my last deployment, and my absence likely worsened things. After 3 years of marriage and over 5 years together, the excitement has faded. Now, I wonder how to rekindle that spark. Suzy plays a crucial role in our family business, managing finances, organizing work, and handling sales and orders while my dad, John, and other electricians focus on customer service. I'm unsure how she'd react if I pursued something new instead of returning to the business. Suzy moved from the Midwest to the Bay Area for a business degree, and her contribution has been essential to the business's success. After getting off the bus near my house, I walked the rest of the way and arrived home at 4 p.m. Unsure if Suzy would be there due to a trip to Travis Air Force Base, I found myself unexpectedly early, thanks to an early arrival at Edwards. Entering the house, everything appeared unchanged from 6 months ago. In the bedroom, I saw the messy bed and scattered sheets, hearing the shower, suggesting Suzy might be home. "Are you getting ready to pick me up?" Suzy startled at my question with a low shriek. "You scared me half to death! What are you doing home already?" "I got dropped off early, so here I am. I'll be out soon, okay? I was planning to join you. I've been on the road for nearly 24 hours. I'll finish up, then you can take a shower." "What? No welcome back?" Suzy's lack of enthusiasm was evident. Exiting the bathroom, I sorted my clothes and started the washer. Suzy emerged in a bathrobe and towel-wrapped hair. "So you're really done with the Air Force? They didn't push you to re-enlist?" "They tried, but I declined. My service is over." "Could they call you back if there's a war?" "They can, at least for the next 4 years." Suzy nodded before heading to the bedroom. I went to the kitchen for water, disappointed by the lackluster welcome. It wasn't what Suzy had hoped for, nor I. This behavior was unusual for Suzy. In the bedroom, she hastily tidied up, prompting me to ask about the mess. "I was running late for work this morning," she explained. "I came home early to prepare for your return." "So, you're not happy to see me?" Suzy remained silent, focused on making the bed. Disheartened, I returned to the living room and settled on the couch. Though I didn't suspect infidelity, our relationship had cooled even before my deployment. Suzy's indifference to my return after 6 months was unsettling. Deciding not to dwell on it, I lay down and soon drifted off to sleep. "Joe, dinner's almost ready. Go shower." Suzy's voice roused me. Realizing it was dark outside, I must have slept for hours. After showering, feeling refreshed, I joined Suzy in the dining room. She had prepared porterhouse steaks, my favorite. Smells delicious. "Welcome home, Joe." "Thank you. Ice cream for dessert." I smiled at Suzy, enjoying the meal. "Why didn't you call me from Fairfield? I would have picked you up," she asked. "I landed in Edwards this morning, so I took a bus. Figured you were still at work." "Did you stop by Mom and Dad's?" "Nope. Straight home to my loving wife's embrace." "Sorry for not welcoming you properly. I had plans for tonight." "No worries. We'll catch up after dinner. 6 months to fill you in on." Suzy seemed distant, lost in thought. "Do you still enjoy working with my family?" "I do. Your mom's great, and Dad and John still look out for me." "Want me to stay there?" "No, it's up to you. I'm back now." "I'm good where I am. Your family's supportive." We finished dinner and had ice cream in the living room. Suzy sat in a chair instead of beside me. Why did it feel like she was avoiding me? After finishing her ice cream, she reached for the TV remote. "Suzy, could you turn it off and join me? I want us to spend time together," I asked. She hesitated before sitting on the edge of the couch. I pulled her close, but her hug felt distant, like I was embracing a sister, not my wife of 3 years. "What's wrong, Suzy?" "What do you mean? You haven't kissed me since I got back. What's changed?" "I need time to adjust, I guess." "That's not like you. What's really going on?" She turned away without answering. "Are you seeing someone?" Suzy shot me an angry look and stood up. I bit my tongue and headed for the bedroom. "Where are you going? You can't even answer a simple question." I heard the bedroom door slam and took a few deep breaths before following her. She had locked the door. "Suzy, what are you doing? Can we talk?" Silence. Back in the living room, I lay on the couch, unsure. Was she mad for asking about cheating, or because I might be right? The conversation wasn't over. To distract myself, I watched TV and fell asleep. Waking to sunlight, I made coffee and checked the bedroom, finding it empty. Her car was gone. Had she left for work? It was almost 8 a.m., late by my standards. I brewed coffee and decided on breakfast before heading to the family business downtown. Entering the garage, I found my dusty pickup. Despite asking Suzy to drive it occasionally, it seemed neglected. Turning the ignition yielded nothing. It needed a recharge. Luckily, my house's location allowed for a downhill push start. After getting it going, I headed to the garage for a checkup. Afterward, I had waffles at the nearby coffee shop and parked in front of the Thomas Electrical store. Inside, a new employee greeted me from behind the counter. "Need any help, sir?" "No, thanks. I'm good," I said, heading towards the service door leading to the storeroom, workshop, and office. "Sorry, that area's for staff only." "No problem. I'm Joe Thomas." "You're Bill's son from the Air Force?" "Yes, that's me. Are my family around?" "Yeah, I think they're all here." "Thanks," I said before entering the door and surveying the workshop and storage area. Several longtime workers were busy retrieving gear. At the far end, Suzy and my twin brother John were engaged in what seemed like a private conversation. Unlike identical twins, John and I differ in appearance. I'm 5'6", sturdy with sandy hair and blue-gray eyes, resembling our dad. John, around 175 centimeters tall, is slender with dark hair and eyes, favoring our mom. I noticed John comforting Suzy, perhaps after our confrontation last night. In the office, Mom greeted me warmly, hugging me. "It's great to have you home, honey. Done with the Air Force?" "Yeah, I didn't re-enlist." "How's everything, Mom? Keeping Dad in line?" She chuckled at my question. "You know your dad, he'll do as he pleases. You're just like him," Mom said as she let go of me. Dad then came over and hugged me, a rare gesture indicating his happiness to have me home. "Good to see you, boy. Welcome home." "Glad to be back for good, Dad. How was Germany this time? Enjoyed it or got too routine?" "It was good. Missed you all, of course." "What's next? No regrets? Thinking of re-enlisting?" "No regrets yet. Unsure what's next. Need a few days to figure it out." "You've got a job here whenever you want it," Dad said. "Don't push it, Bill. He doesn't need to work here." "We've talked about it," Mom interjected. "It's his business too, Betty, not just John's," Dad countered. Their conversation hinted at long-standing tension. I hadn't shared my work plans, so I was puzzled by their discussion. "We'll discuss my plans later. For now, I'm just happy to be home." John and Suzy entered the office. "Hey, Joe." "Good to have you back," John said, hugging me briefly. "Hey, little brother. How's life? Found yourself a lady?" John chuckled awkwardly. He'd always struggled with girls, relying on me for introductions. But since I started dating Suzy, his social life had quieted. He was more reserved, less adventurous than me, always following my lead. Joining the Air Force allowed me to break free from that dynamic. "So, sticking with the Air Force or coming back to work?" John asked. "Neither. Considering something new." "Undecided," I replied. John nodded, then Dad stepped in. "What's your plan for today?" "Not much. Why?" "Join me for the day. Got some work and we can catch up." "Sure, Dad. Just need 10 minutes to gather my stuff," I agreed, heading for the loading dock. "Sure," I agreed. Dad and John headed to the pantry while Suzy and Mom took their seats. I realized Suzy hadn't spoken to me all morning, not since our confrontation last night. I approached her desk and whispered, "Can we talk, or are you ignoring me?" "I'm not sure we have anything to discuss," she replied coldly. "We have plenty to talk about. You just seem unwilling," I countered. Suzy's expression remained stoic. "Not until you apologize." "I'll apologize if you answer why you've been distant since I returned. You seem closer to John than me. Do you still want to be my wife?" She met my gaze. "Not wanting lovemaking doesn't mean I'm cheating." "But you're distant. Why?" I need time to adjust. To what? What's going on? Nothing. Dad's waiting, and I have work. Please just go. She dismissed me. Realizing I wouldn't get answers, I left for the truck, where Dad was loading my things. You ready, Joe? Dad asked. Yeah, let's go. Arriving at the renovation site, the house was gutted for wiring installation. Dad had started the job yesterday. I began wiring outlets while Dad worked on light fixtures. We took a lunch break in Dad's truck, sharing sandwiches. Mom mentioned something about me not working here. What's that about? I asked. Dad sighed. She thinks it's best for John's success if you're not here. I disagree, it's your business too. She wants me out so John can thrive? She's concerned about his happiness and future. She wants me out for him? That's not fair. I agree, it's not right. Wait, what situation? I asked, puzzled. Dad's expression shifted to shock. Oh, damn, you're clueless, aren't you? About what? What's going on? I pressed, confused. Dad hesitated. I thought you knew. Suzy said you did. Just tell me, I demanded. Suzy and John. They've been together since you left for Germany. She said you two split before you left. What? No, we didn't. I sat, stunned. She's been with my brother? Dad nodded solemnly. Your mom found out, wasn't happy, but eventually accepted it. Does everyone know? Yeah, pretty much. Damn, John's the worst. Hugs me like nothing happened, knowing I had no clue. I'm sorry you found out like this. Suzy said you two split before you left for Germany. She and John were close, so we assumed they got back together after you left. Feeling lonely? No, it means John's been trying to steal my wife for a while. Can't believe he'd do that. He's always been envious of you, Joe. More like jealous. Mom thinks I should leave so John can have my wife and business. Give him everything. Would that make her happy? Mom didn't know she was lied to. Thought you abandoned Suzy, saw her as a daughter. Thought they could be happy together. Working with them every day would be tough. Damn, John, he's dead to me now. He's still your brother. Angry now, but things might get better. Suzy's at fault too. No, he's my twin. Should have had my back, can't forgive him. And Suzy? Lying strumpet. Asked her about cheating, she had nerve to ask for an apology. Joe, I'm sorry for all this mess. It's just awful. So, Pa, what's your plan when you get back to the store and confront John and Suzy now that you know the truth? Nothing. I'd lose my temper. I already gave them hell for hiding their affair since you left. Even thought you and Suzy broke up. It's still wrong. They should have waited until you were divorced. I took a sip of water, considering my next move. I was furious. But they teach you in training to keep your cool when emotions run high. I remembered walking into my house yesterday, clueless. My bedroom, that damn situation. They must have finished before I arrived. That's why Suzy was shocked to see me. She probably didn't know if I'd seen John leave. Are you okay to keep working? I understand if you need some time. I'll go. Pa, I need to think about all this. Joe, don't do anything stupid, okay? If you're worried about me hurting John or Suzy, don't be. I'm not ruining my life over them. They can have each other. Call me later, Joe, so I know you're okay, all right? Yeah, I will, Pa. I walked toward the store to get my things. This wasn't the homecoming I expected. When I got there, I wanted to leave, but couldn't. I went into the office where Mom and Suzy were. Mom looked up and saw me. Are you done with that job yet? No, Dad is still there. I just came back to talk to my wife who's cheating on me with my brother. What are you talking about? You two aren't together anymore? No, Mom, I just found out about that lying strumpet and my traitor brother. We were never apart. They lied to you and Dad. Isn't that the truth, Suzy? How could you do this to me, to my own brother? Suzy didn't answer, running out of the office, probably to John. Do you still want to get rid of me, Mom, so John can have my wife in the business? I didn't know, Joe. I thought you'd left Suzy. That's what they told me. Why didn't you talk to me about it when I called you? Since you and Dad never mentioned Suzy and John, we thought talking about them would upset you, that you needed time to get over it. Well, now you know you can't trust them. Have fun relying on them for the business. I turned and walked out, not sure who to be angrier at, Mom or Suzy. As I left, John approached me. Step back, John. If you know what's good for you, leave, Joe. This isn't your place anymore. With those words, I stepped forward and punched John in the face, knocking him down. He never was good at fighting, always relying on me. As he lay there bleeding, I stood over him. You're dead to me, John. Do you understand? You're no longer my brother. Don't call or contact me. If you see me, go the other way. And Suzy better get her stuff out of my house tonight. She better not be there when I get home. I stepped over him, left the store, and got into my pickup. 3 months later, Suzy had moved in with John, and I decided to sell the house. Too many memories. It sold quickly, covering the mortgage with some leftover. After splitting the balance, I rented an apartment in South San Francisco, close to the international airport and aviation businesses. Within a week, I got a job at a major aviation tech support firm. My skills were in demand, and I'd have to learn about commercial planes, but after my fighter training, I finally felt settled. New place, new job, good team. Maybe now I could move on with my life. After I settled in, Mom and Dad visited, and I even made up with Mom. Suzy and John were still working with them, but Mom had reduced Suzy's responsibilities. One Friday afternoon, some coworkers invited me to dinner and drinks in downtown South City. I gladly accepted, and we met at a restaurant at 7 p.m. After eating, we headed to a nearby bar on Grand Avenue at 8:30 p.m. While the guys ordered cocktails, I went to the restroom. On my way back, I accidentally bumped into a woman coming out of the women's room. "Sorry about that." "That's okay," she replied, turning to face me. "Maddie, oh my God." "Joe, how are you?" Maddie gave me a quick hug. It had been about 8 years since we last saw each other. Maddie was the girl I lost my pureness to at 18, my first real love, and also the first girl my brother tried to mess around with behind my back. "You look great, Maddie, even better than in high school. Do you live in South City or just visiting?" "I live in San Bruno, near the airport where I work. I'm here with some coworkers." "You work at SFO? I do too." "Really? What do you do?" "I run a travel agency. How about you?" "I'm an avionics technician." "How did you end up there? I thought you were going to work in your dad's electrical business." "I did an apprenticeship with him, but after qualifying, I joined the Air Force." "And now you're out of the Air Force?" "Yes, I finished my 4-year tour and I'm a civilian again." "Good. I heard you got married." "I was, but we're separated now." "What about you? You can't still be single." "I am, actually. I've been living apart for about 6 months." Seeing Maddie brought back memories and feelings. She was the one that got away, beautiful, smart, and sassy. "I'm sorry if I'm distracting you from your date." "You're still so smooth, Joe. I'm not here with a date, just some girlfriends." "Are they single too?" "What? Am I boring you already?" "No, never. Some of the guys I'm with are single. Why don't we get our friends together for a fun night out?" "That sounds like a good idea. We're at the front table. I'm sure we can add another." "Okay, I'll get the guys." Back at our table, my beer awaited. "How long were you in the bathroom?" Mike joked. "No, just ran into an old flame on the way," I replied. Sitting with me were Mike, Brian, Jay, and Teddy, our team leader, experienced like me and ex-military. The others did the same job, and as far as I knew, they were all single. "So they have friends?" Jay inquired. "Yeah, and I've arranged for us to join them. They're at that table over there," I said, gesturing. The guys grinned at the attractive women. "They look good. Maybe Teddy deserves a promotion after this," Jay teased. "I'm married, remember? But you guys owe Joe a beer," Teddy said. "Not me, I'm taken. But it's your lucky night," Brian added. "Let's go over there. Remember, Maddie's mine," I reminded them as we approached the table. "Hey, Maddie." "Hi, Joe. Can you grab the chairs?" Maddie asked, starting introductions. "I'm Maddie, and this is Bethany and Kira," Maddie introduced. "Hey, ladies, I'm Joe, and here are Jay, Mike, Brian, and our boss, Teddy," I replied. "How do you know Joe?" Maddie asked Kira. "He was my high school crush. We were sweethearts," Kira explained, drawing sighs from both her and Bethany. "So, not married?" Kira probed. "No, and don't try to set us up. He'd need a serious wake-up call first," Maddie replied with a smile. "Looks like you messed up, bro," Jay teased. "Yeah, big time," I admitted. Glancing at Maddie, seated beside me, she whispered, "Have you realized the truth about John?" "I only recently understood his role in my divorce." "I remembered what you said. I regret not believing you sooner," I confessed softly. "We were young, and he was your brother. But you can make it up to me if you want," Maddie whispered back. "I really want to." With that, Maddie kissed my cheek. "Wow, that was quick. Maddie, what did he do to win you over so fast?" Bethany inquired. "I don't kiss and tell, but Joe's always been a sweetheart," Maddie replied. "He was your first too?" Kira asked with a grin. "Kira, that's a bit personal," Bethany interjected. "Just spill it," Kira insisted. "Yeah, I was happy then," Maddie answered, chuckling. "What about you, Joe? Were you Maddie's first too?" Bethany teased, earning me some playful slaps from the guys. "Is it getting warmer in here?" Bethany joked, fanning herself. "Enough about us. Who's single among you guys?" Keep these ladies entertained, Teddy suggested, amused. The next hour or two flew by. We were all relaxed and having a great time. Jay and Mike seemed to be hitting it off with Bethany and Kira, and Teddy and Brian were enjoying themselves too. As for me, I was having a good time hanging out with Maddie. I felt so at ease with her. I'm sure I had a silly smile plastered on my face the whole time. Later, I excused myself to go to the bathroom, and Maddie did the same. When I was done, I waited for Maddie in the hallway leading from the restrooms. When she came out, she stood next to me, leaning against the wall. "It's so good to see you again, Joe. I mean it." "Me too. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed spending time with you, just being with you." "I know. Maybe it's like what they say about first true love, that you develop a bond that you carry with you for the rest of your life." "Maybe. But I'd like to test that theory." "Damn it, Joe, you really are very smart. You could start by giving me your number and then taking me out to dinner." "What if I want to start by kissing you first?" Maddie looked me in the eye and giggled mischievously. "Okay, Joe, we can start with that." I leaned over and gave Maddie her first real kiss since senior year of high school. It was better than I remembered. Maddie put her hand on my face and wrapped her other arm around my back. I continued the kiss, wrapping my arms tightly around her. God, that felt so good. Breaking the kiss, we looked into each other's eyes. "Wow, that was so good. You still have it, Joe." "I think it's all you, Maddie." God, I need more. I snuggled up to her for another kiss. This time, Maddie broke the kiss a little early. "You said kiss, not lots of kisses. We need to get back to the table before I lose control of myself." "Do we have to? If it were up to me, I'd take you home right now." "Easy, Tiger. You can take me out to dinner first. I'm not that kind of girl," Maddie replied with a cheeky giggle. "Okay, but can I get one more kiss before the night is over?" "Yes, you can. I promise." We went back outside to join the others, and I kept humming, unable to get the kiss with Maddie out of my head. We continued to chat for the next hour and then went dancing, breaking into pairs. Jay with Bethany, Mike with Kira, and Teddy had already left to go home to his wife and kids. Brian soon followed, leaving the three couples alone. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was dancing to a slow song with Maddie when she told me that she and the girls were going to go home after that song. "You better call me, Joe. I'm serious." "That's something you won't ever have to worry about. I can't wait to see you again." "And you haven't even left yet." Maddie rested her head on my chest, and we danced slowly to the end of the song. When it ended, we walked back to our table. Jay and Bethany were already sitting there, and Mike and Kira were following us off the dance floor. This night felt surreal. Of course, 3 couples couldn't all get together in one night. Finally, we all went outside and waited for a cab, still paired off and having our separate conversations. The first cab arrived for the 3 girls, and Maddie gave me a quick kiss and reminded me to call her before jumping in the car with Bethany and Kira. I was left standing there with Jay and Mike. "Joe, I really owe you for this. Bethany is amazing. We already have another date," said Jay. "Me too. Kira asked me out, and I was too nervous to ask in case she said no," replied Mike. "Glad I could help, guys. Tonight was great. Better than I could have hoped for. Saturday morning, I felt a little tipsy, but not too much. I thought about last night and Maddie. I couldn't get her out of my mind. I showered, got dressed, and went to a coffee shop near my apartment for coffee and waffles. As I sat there eating breakfast and thinking about Maddie, my phone rang. "Hello? Hey, Joe, I just realized I didn't give you my number last night. I just got yours, so make sure you save it, okay?" "Of course, I'll save it. Actually, I was just thinking about you." "No, that's a lie. I've been thinking about you all morning." "But now I've been thinking about you too." "Really? Are you in love with me already?" "Joe Thomas, if we were in Salem in the 16th century, I'd have you thrown in jail as a witch for putting a love spell on me." "My God! Did you rehearse that line?" Maddie laughed into the phone. "Did you like it?" "Yeah, I liked it." "Well, if I'm a witch and I have you under my spell, I can order you to do whatever I want, right?" "Absolutely." "Then I order you to pick me up at my house and take me to lunch this morning." "Deal. Send me your address and time and I'll be there." "I will. And, Joe, thanks for last night. I haven't felt this happy in a long time." "I know the feeling. It's like I've hit the reset button on my life. I have a new place, a new job, new friends, and hopefully someone new and special to share it with." "If I find out who she is, I'll scratch her eyes out," Maddie replied with an evil giggle. "What?" I laughed in response to her unexpected answer. "Well, we're not rookies, but I hope we can make it special this time." "I agree." "Okay, my waffles are getting cold. Don't forget to send me your address. I'll do that right now. See you soon, Joe. Bye, Maddie. I pulled up to Maddie's house and didn't see a single available parking space. Luckily, I saw Maddie coming out of the front door, so I honked and waved. She jumped into my very clean pickup. I had spent 2 hours that morning getting it cleaned up for her. She leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. So, where are you taking me to lunch, Joe? How about Pedro Point? We can grab a bite to eat on the way and then sit by the ocean. It's a bit of a hike, though. Sounds great. As we walked down the path leading to the observation deck, I took Maddie's hand and she looked up and smiled at me when I did. We sat down on the grass at the end of the trail, looking out at the Pacific Ocean. We sat in silence for a few minutes, just soaking it all in. I pulled our lunch out of my backpack and we started talking, eating the sandwiches we had bought along the way. I was expecting you to take me to a nice restaurant or cafe, but this is so much better. I'm glad you liked it. I wanted to do something memorable, and just going out to eat isn't the way to do it. Maddie rested her head on my shoulder. You're making me nervous, Joe. What do you mean? Well, just a day ago, I had no idea where you were or what you were doing. Today, it's hard for me to imagine not being with you. Things are happening too fast. I don't want to be hurt again. I'm sorry things worked out this way between us. I should have believed you. No, that's not what I meant. I meant that I was hurt after what I went through with my marriage. I only put it all behind me a few months ago, and now I'm here with you. Joe, I can't have a casual relationship. It's all or nothing for us. And that scares me. What scares you? Falling in love again. Doesn't it scare you? Knowing what it's like when you're in love and things go wrong? I know what it feels like, but I'm not going to let it stop me. The relationship I had with my ex-wife won't be like ours. You're so different from her. Us together is so different from what I had with my ex. What about your ex? Are you going to say I remind you of him? No, not at all. I always wished he was more like you, or what I remember of you. But what if you're not what I remember you to be? What if you turn out to be more like him than I'd like? Well, I don't know your ex. I don't know what happened between you two. But in my head, I'm still that high school kid who had a crush on you. I've had a few more scars and experiences since then. Some good, some bad. But I'm still the same person. I still hope to live a wonderful life and share it with the person I love. Okay. But if you hurt me again, I won't give you a third chance. I won't need a third chance, I promise. Maddie lifted her head and we kissed gently. After lunch, we went back to Maddie's apartment to hang out. Well, better said, make out. I didn't push for lovemaking. Maddie had already said she was nervous about how fast things were going, so I decided to take things slow and let her determine how fast we would move. On Saturday night, Maddie was planning on going to the movies with Bethany. So we ended up having a double date, Maddie and I, and Bethany and Jay. I didn't stay the night, but went to my parents' house for dinner on Sunday, making sure beforehand that John and Suzy wouldn't be there. Over the next week, I took Maddie out to dinner twice, and on Friday night, we all went out together again. Well, 3 couples anyway. It wasn't even 10 p.m. when Maddie leaned over to me as we sat at the table. Joe, can you take me home? Are you feeling okay? Is something wrong? No, nothing's wrong, just the opposite. I want you to take me home. I looked into Maddie's eyes, raising my eyebrows. Are you sure? Yes, very. Maddie then kissed me softly on the lips. We stood up, and I told our 4 friends that we were heading home. I think they understood, and no one objected to us leaving early. When we got back to Maddie's house, I followed her into the living room. Have a seat on the couch, Joe. I'll be right out. Do you want something to drink, Maddie? No, I'm fine. Help yourself if you want. I thought about it, but decided against drinking more whiskey, fearing the effects of hard drinks. I hadn't had much to drink tonight, but maybe it was better to just have water. I went back to the couch to get comfortable. When Maddie came out of her bedroom, she had put on some interesting clothes and invited me into the bedroom, so we made love. Maddie raised her head to look me in the eyes. I can't believe I'm already so much in love with you. You know that, don't you? I love you too, Maddie. I really do. For the next few weeks, Maddie and I were inseparable. Outside of work, I often spent nights at her apartment since it was closer to our jobs. I even started keeping my work clothes and toothbrush at her place to make my life easier. It was amazing how quickly we fell into a rhythm, as if we were finally becoming a part of each other, feeling like a complete other half. In the 12 months we had been together in high school, we already knew each other well. But now that we were older and had more life experience, We were really starting to understand ourselves on a deeper level. It was Tuesday night. We had just returned to Maddie's apartment after dinner, and I was sitting on the couch waiting for her to come back. I was reflecting on how content I felt being with her. Maddie returned wearing an oversized t-shirt that resembled a dress and snuggled up to me on the couch. "Joe, I've been thinking. You don't have to if you don't want to, but shouldn't we talk about what happened in our marriages? Just so we both understand how we got to this point. For what purpose? So we can comprehend what occurred. I guess I don't want us to repeat the same mistakes." "Well, okay, do you want to go first or should I?" "You can, but I have a feeling your story might be longer than mine." "All right, where do you want me to start?" "Well, how you met and what she was like. Not your current perception, but back then." "We met at a bar when I was in my third year of college and she was studying business at Mills College. We were both 21 and she seemed nice but reserved. I had to make an effort to engage her in conversation, or at least get her to have a few drinks. I didn't think she was the one or anything like that at the time. I think we gradually grew closer as we dated. Anyway, I joined the Air Force after my internship and proposed 6 months later. We got married about 6 months after that. Maintaining a relationship in the military isn't easy, especially if your partner doesn't accompany you. She had a job in the city, but she lived in our house in Oakland. We had just bought a small 3-bedroom house. So we were apart more often than we were together. But what was she like? What were you two like together? Well, she was determined, more than stubborn, I'd say. She always seemed to struggle with expressing her feelings or emotions. She tended to keep her cards close to her chest, even with me sometimes. But she could be warm and cheerful when she was in a good mood. I felt like it was my responsibility to always lift her spirits, and sometimes I just couldn't manage it when I was deployed overseas. In some ways, the separation strengthened our relationship, as it made us miss each other more. When I returned home, for the first month or so, things were great. I could sense her loneliness when I wasn't around, so I convinced my parents to hire her to help run the family business. It provided her with a sense of belonging and made things easier for her. With the mortgage to pay, relying solely on my income while she accompanied me abroad wasn't feasible. Although we considered renting out the apartment and traveling together, it wasn't a viable option. When did she start working with your parents? It was during my 3rd year in the Air Force, about a year and a half into our marriage. Were you around much after that? Is that when you started having problems? Yes, I wasn't around much. I was stationed in Germany for the latter part of my 3rd year, and then spent the last 6 months of my final year at Edwards in one of the test squadrons, only coming home on weekends during that time. Did she start getting close to John during that time? Yes, I think so. They always got along well, but I never suspected there was anything more. While I was working at Edwards, our relationship began to deteriorate. Looking back, I believe John's pursuit of her at work might have played a role. Do you think maybe she thought she could replace you with someone who would be home more? She knew my military service was ending, and I never mentioned re-enlisting. She began dating John when I only had 6 months left. Perhaps she simply fell in love with him. He can be quite persuasive. But it didn't work on you, did it? No, I wasn't away from you most of the time, and I interacted with John regularly. But I wouldn't entertain such thoughts, because I love you, and it would be morally wrong. I mean, I was repulsed when he made advances toward me at that party. I was a bit intoxicated, and he persisted in trying to take advantage of me because I didn't firmly tell him to stop. Why didn't you tell him he was your brother? I knew he was a little drunk too. At first I thought he was just being an idiot, but then it started to get out of hand. You said he kept groping you. What was he actually doing? He would come up behind me and grab my bosom, then put his arms around me so I couldn't break free, even when I was yelling for him to stop. Everyone thought it was funny and that we were just fooling around since other people were doing the same. I remember being angry that you weren't there because John wouldn't have tried that if you were around. I was also mad at myself for not leaving the party then. But I thought John wouldn't ruin my night. Yeah, I'm sorry too. Anyway, he caught me in the hallway as I was coming out of the bathroom and pushed me into one of the bedrooms. Well, you know the rest. I've never been in a situation like that before where someone tried to molestate me and no one tried to help. They probably thought I wanted it because they always saw John with you and me together. Maybe they thought I was just fooling around with you while you were away playing soccer. Well, it's good that you can at least stand up for yourself. I hope his balls still hurt. So what about your story? I met my ex, Simon, when we were both sophomores in college. We started dating and got engaged about a year after we graduated. We got married about 2 years later. So you dated for a few years before getting engaged, and then it took a few more years to get married. Why did it take you so long to commit? I don't know. Right now, I'd like to think that maybe we both knew it wasn't meant to be or something, that maybe we were content with what we had at the time. But you loved him, didn't you? Yes, in the beginning. But probably, like your relationship, we started to slowly drift apart with each year we spent together. I think we eventually got married because we were trying to save our relationship and also because of pressure from family and friends. We only lasted about 6 months. Marriage. So what went wrong? Did you just decide to end it? No, he lost his job. Then he didn't like his new job. He started drinking more, and then he started getting violent. Really? He started hitting you? Verbally? Initially, there was some pushing and kicking. By then, I was ready to leave. Then one night, during an argument, he punched me. I can't recall what the argument was about, but he came home drunk and angry, taking out his frustration on me until he ended up punching me. It was late, so I demanded that he sleep on the couch. The next morning, he started coming at me again and slapped me once more. That was the final straw. Did you go to the police? Guys who hit women usually repeat it. They need it on their record so that when the next woman complains, they'll be aware of it. Yes, I did. I filed for a restraining order and he was forced to move out. I haven't seen him since that day. Well, I'm sorry you had to endure that, both with John and Simon. I hope your other boyfriends treated you well. You're my only boyfriend, and so far you've treated me well. So you didn't date anyone else in college until you met Simon? There must have been guys chasing you all the time. They were, but at the time, I was still concerned about you. I didn't want to go on dates or anything like that. I focused on my studies and spent time with my girlfriends. They encouraged me to start dating the next year. I got teased a lot about being like a nun. Madeline's mother was a favorite. I giggled and Maddie hit me with a pillow. Tell me, Joe, do you think you'll ever forgive John for what happened? He is your twin brother, after all. No, I don't see that ever happening. Even setting aside Suzy or you, it's that he did that to me, that he betrayed my trust like that. I've thought about it a lot since Suzy left. Even though he's my twin brother, we were never close. Maybe if we were identical twins, things would have been different. But we weren't alike at all. He was always there for me, but I never enjoyed spending time with just him. We were always with other people, and my friends, my girlfriends. He tried to have his own. Looking back, I realized I never really liked him. If he wasn't my brother, we wouldn't have been friends at all. You know that saying, Joe? You can choose your friends, but not your family? Yeah, but it's tough when your family is always intertwined with your friends. Mom and Dad expected me to include him in everything, assuming he'd always be there for me. I don't understand why he never sought his own path, his own friends. That's largely why I joined the Air Force, to finally break away from him. Well, now you're free of him. Let's go to bed, Joe. I need some cuddle time. Wait, you said we should discuss this so we can learn from it. What exactly did we learn? Not to fall in love with lousy people? I suppose that's it? That we made poor choices in who we loved? That. And never settling for second best. Okay, I can get behind that. Well then, I'll take my first best girlfriend to bed. Maddie leaned over, kissed me, then stood up and held out her hand, leading me to the bedroom. The following weeks passed much like the ones before, but now I could hardly recall what life was like before reconnecting with Maddie. I felt entirely at ease and content. Maybe this is what true happiness and love feel like. Last weekend, Maddie joined me for lunch at my parents' house, and they were delighted to see her again. They were also pleased to witness my happiness after breaking up with Suzy. I moved all my belongings into Maddie's apartment that week since we were practically living together already, and it didn't make sense to pay rent twice. It had been just under 6 months since I legally separated from Suzy and filed for divorce. However, Maddie's divorce had just been finalized 8 months after filing, so hopefully I only had a few more months to go too. Mom's 50th birthday was Thursday, but they held a party late Saturday night at their house. Many family and friends attended, about 60 guests in all. It was one of those situations where avoiding John and Suzy without offending Mom was impossible. I decided I wasn't going to let them dictate my relationship with my parents. We reached Mom and Dad's place around 4 in the afternoon, and it was already bustling with guests. The party was happening in the backyard, where a sizable gazebo had been set up. As we made our way through the house, exchanging greetings with cousins, uncles, and aunts, we bumped into Mom emerging from the kitchen. Spotting us, she paused and beamed, then enveloped us in hugs. "Oh, goodness. You two look like you stepped out of a daytime TV romance." "Absolutely stunning," she exclaimed. "You look fabulous too, Mom." Fabulous for someone who isn't a day over 40. "Oh, Joe, you flatterer. Is that how you manage to woo a beauty like Maddie?" "That's not all, Betty. Your son can be smooth as silk, but he's always sincere. He gets that from his father. Bill was quite the charmer, too." "Well, happy birthday, Betty." "Yes, Mom, happy birthday, and I hope this party becomes a cherished memory." I handed my mom the gift and planted a kiss on her cheek. "Thank you both. Joe, Suzy, and John are outside. Will that be an issue?" "Not for us. It's your night, so enjoy it." While I wasn't going to stir up any trouble at Mom's birthday bash, I had no intention of engaging with John or Suzy either. Stepping out into the backyard, Dad spotted us and made his way over. "Hi, Joe. Hi, Maddie. You look absolutely stunning, Maddie. How my son managed to win your heart again is beyond me," Dad remarked, shaking my hand and giving Maddie a peck on the cheek. "I don't know, Bill. Your son is quite the catch. Perhaps he takes after his father. Handsome and clever." "You've done well, Joe," Maddie replied. "Mom seems thrilled for her birthday. She looks genuinely happy," I observed. "You know your mom, mostly putting on a show. She's been fussing and fretting over this party for weeks. But I hope she can relax soon and start enjoying herself." "I hope so too, Pa." "Joe, your brother and Suzy are over there. Is that all right with you?" "Yeah, as long as they steer clear of us and don't start any conversations, it's fine." "Got it. I'll make sure they know to give you space. Sound good?" "Okay." We mingled with the other guests, a mix of family friends and relatives. Some familiar faces, others less so. Despite the varied crowd, it seemed everyone recognized me, perhaps due to my height and build, making me stand out. Many guests couldn't help but admire Maddie, commenting on her beauty. At one point, Maddie went into the kitchen to assist her mom with more food, and I noticed Suzy trailing behind her. I shook my head, knowing Suzy was clueless about who she was dealing with by engaging Maddie. A short while later, Suzy emerged from the house looking perturbed. She approached John, and I could see them attempting to hide what was clearly an argument. Eventually, Suzy distanced herself from him and took a seat away from where John stood. Then Mom, Maddie, and one of my aunts brought out trays of food from the house to the gazebo. I observed Maddie, who glanced back and forth between John and me, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. God, I adore that woman. After helping with the food, Maddie approached me, exuding confidence and, dare I say, smugness. "You've been up to something, haven't you?" I murmured softly as she stood beside me. "You have no idea, but I'm dying to hear what went down." "I'll fill you in once we're home. For now, let's revel in how uncomfortable Suzy and John will be the rest of the evening." I gazed at Maddie, unable to suppress a grin, and gave her a gentle kiss. "As soon as my divorce is finalized, I'm marrying you. No need for an engagement. I just want to make you mine as soon as possible." "Will you at least ask me if I want to marry you first?" "I'll ask. I'll get down on one knee and pull out all the stops. I'll even sing if it helps." "I'm holding you to that." "Joe, I'm not sure about your singing, though. That might be the one thing you're not good at." "Fair enough. I'll hire a professional." Then, I chuckled along with Maddie. Maddie was spot on. Suzy and John barely exchanged words for the remainder of the evening, and when they did, it was clear there was animosity towards him, evident in Suzy's expression. I don't consider myself a confrontational person, but I have to admit it was quite remarkable. Later, I went inside the house to use the restroom, and as I exited, John was waiting outside the door, wearing a troubled expression. As I approached, he stepped aside to let me pass. I gave him a dismissive glance and shook my head slightly as I walked by. That was the extent of my interaction with John all night. After the party, I drove Maddie back to our apartment, which was now officially ours. "Curious about what went down at the party?" she asked, resting her head on my chest. I nodded in agreement. "Well, I went to the kitchen to help your mom prepare some food trays, but she had to step away for a moment, leaving me alone in the kitchen. That's when Suzy came in and started arranging food on one of the trays," Maddie recounted. Suzy turned to me. "So, you're Joe's new girlfriend?" "And I'm his wife, Suzy." "Future ex-wife, you mean? And I'm not just Joe's latest girlfriend. I'm Maddie, Joe's first love, the one he's going to marry." I think that caught her off guard. "I doubt it's just Maddie telling the story," she retorted. "I have to thank you, Suzy, for giving up a great guy like Joe for a guy like John. Thanks to you, Joe and I have found our way back to each other." "Joe already ended things with you once. What makes you think he won't do it again?" Last time Joe didn't break up with me. I left because he didn't believe me when I told him his brother was trying to steal his girlfriend. John has a history of this. He wants everything Joe has. His friends, his girls, his wife. John knows how to manipulate situations, but he couldn't manipulate me. I would never stoop that low. He tried to force himself on me physically. You're with such a nice guy. Seriously. She gave me a searching look before exiting the kitchen. I recognized that look, Joe. Like she knew John's true colors. Maybe he was already abusive with her, not physically yet, but she might have sensed it during their argument when she returned to him. She avoided him the rest of the night. I bet he was already manipulating her to get his way. He might have been a different person when you weren't around. Your presence seemed to restrain him, but he could have been quite cunning when you weren't there. It shows how little you can truly know someone. Why didn't any of you warn me about him? I asked. Tell you that your beloved twin brother is a total idiot who probably hates you. Besides, he was always present when you were around. It was hard for us to discuss him with you. I didn't want to tell you because I feared you wouldn't believe me. Even at that party, you doubted me. Yeah, I can't believe I fell for his act. I was so naive. No, Joe, you're just a good person who wants to see the best in others. Don't let him change that. Maddie turned off the shower and grabbed the towels. Enough about that. Let's go to bed. And there's something else I need to tell you. I quickly dried off and joined Maddie in bed, snuggling under the sheets. What else did you want to share, can I guess? Sure, that I'm the best lover you've ever had. Well, yeah, but that's not the response I'm eagerly waiting for when it comes to marrying me again. Yes, but that's not the response that you're the most stunning woman I've ever seen. Come on, Joe, stop messing around. I paused, feeling her breath on my face as we lay together in the dark. Okay, then I'll assume you're pregnant. Yes, I kissed Maddie gently. It felt like it took forever, didn't it? Well, luckily I'm not keen on an engagement, right? Can't have you walking down the aisle all frumpy. How far along are you? Not very. I had tests done at the doctor's this week to make sure. You're not upset we didn't discuss this first, are you? I was switching birth control. That's how I think it happened. No, I'm ecstatic. Truly. I can't wait for us to get married, buy our own house, and have 4 kids. 4. Wait, I want to maintain my figure. You know that. I'm sure you'll be the most beautiful mom in the PTA, the fittest MILF in the Bay Area. You always say the sweetest things, Joe. Yes? I love you, Maddie. I love you too, Joe. Less than 2 months after finalizing my divorce, which occurred about 7 months after breaking up with Suzy, Maddie and I tied the knot. It was a modest wedding ceremony, attended by close family and friends. Bethany and Kira served as bridesmaids, while Joe and Mike stood as my best men. We purchased a home in San Bruno, which needed some renovation. With the help of my dad and colleagues, we managed to complete the necessary work. Our son Mason was born 6 months after our wedding. Now Maddie is expecting our second child, a healthy baby girl according to the scans. My parents are delighted grandparents now. Although they continue to oversee the family business, John and Suzy are no longer involved. Suzy left John a few months after I remarried, seeking a restraining order and relocating back to the Midwest to be with her family. Maddie's intuition was correct. John eventually turned violent towards her. This prompted my parents to take action, leading to his expulsion from the family business. While he remains a silent partner like me, he now works for another contractor in San Jose. As for Maddie and me, everything worked out as my dad predicted. We couldn't be happier, and Maddie remains the love of my life.